And that is scheduled for Q4 this year, or?
Yeah, we're aiming for Q4 this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about the current stage and the product and everything in a second. But first, can you give some examples of use cases, tangible use case? Because I'm not very technical. My audience, I know, is not very technical. Some of them, I'm sure, but the majority not. So can you give a bit of some tangible use cases for end users that Ethermint could enable if it's production ready?
Yes. So the initial vision, the initial value proposition about this Ethermint chain was basically deploy an EVM chain that fully supports smart contract use cases like ERC20s, NFTs, etc. In general, smart contract the same way that you would deploy in Ethereum using the same tools, but with fast finality and proof of stake. So fast finality first would enable more business-oriented cases that require the fast finality and not having to wait for this confirmation time for transactions to be actually included in a block, and also to migrate fully to proof of stake. So that was the initial version for a production-ready and like the initial value proposition for the chain. Unfortunately, now that because it's been taking so long, there are already chains that provide this functionality, like full EVM compatibility with fast finality and proof of stake. So the value proposition that we're migrating to is how do we build a network of EVM chains that are able to benefit and that we're through IBC and able to access liquidity not only from its own environment that it's just like the EVM, but from other sources of liquidity like through IBC, for example, like the Cosmos Hub, Osmosis, so like ERC20 tokens will be able to be swapped and trade in Osmosis. You'll be able to LP on Osmosis and other dexes like the Gravity dex that's going to be deployed on the hub. So that's one particular use case around DeFi, like having greater access to liquidity through the interoperability component of IBC that we're building, and also be able to interact directly with Ethereum through the Gravity bridge. And finally, there's this whole concept of how do you, now that you have IBC that is able to allow you to communicate smart contracts in different chains, how do you scale that and are able to build a specification that basically enables you to do cross-chain smart contract execution, but with different virtual machines? So for example, you have Cosmos WASM on Terra that allows you to build smart contracts in WASM. How are you able to make them interoperate with smart contracts that are written in Solidity and that are deployed on Ethermint? So that's, I think, an interesting use case, and not only between WASM smart contracts, but also between Solidity smart contracts in one chain and Solidity contracts in another chain. Yeah. So what we're seeing right now, and this is one interesting use case that I've been seeing from different partners, is that there are a bunch of chains that want to enable EVM interoperability, but for their application-specific use case. So for example, some chain might want to deploy an NFT-specific blockchain. So deploy say NFT module, build their NFTs as an within the SDK, but they also want to scale and benefit from composability. They want also developers to deploy their ERC721 tokens for through the smart contracts, and they want to deploy, they want to have an EVM that supports that use case. So they want to have the EVM on top of their chain to be able to exclusively focus on NFT use cases. So you'll be able to build EVM application-specific blockchains on Cosmos and interoperate with other EVMs that are running. So that's a really interesting use case that I see spinning up in the next year.
Yeah.